Pokémon is arguably one of the most well-known video game franchises of all time. What started out as a Japanese RPG on the Game Boy has turned into a multi-billion-dollar franchise, which has since been merchandised into anime, manga, trading cards, toys and more. For those who aren't all too familiar with it, the core concept of the Pokémon universe is simple. In the world, humans exist peacefully, with creatures called Pokémon. Some people, called trainers, go out into the world, and capture Pokémon for sport, or use them to battle other trainers with. It's like insect collecting, except, you can use these insects to fight with other insects. While Pokémon has made a big hit in popular culture, it has created some controversy over the years, such as morality, and with some questioning its influence on children. But that's not all. Years ago, rumors started to spread on the internet concerning a string of incidents that occurred after the release of the original Pokémon games that were only distributed in Japan. It is claimed that the incidents were directly related to the Pokémon games, and was so severe that a government cover-up was put in place to prevent a public outcry. A few months after the game was released, a bizarre spate of medical cases and deaths started to occur around Japan, which were connected to the red and green versions of Pokémon. It is believed that elements contained within the original released beta versions of the game were blamed for causing children mental and physical illness and suicide. This affliction that was affecting children was called the Lavender Town Syndrome. It is believed that at least 200 children lost their lives, and many more developed sudden illnesses or afflictions. So, what is it? Lavender Town Syndrome is named after a village you visit in the game called Lavender Town. It is said that in the original beta versions of Pokémon, players would eventually develop health issues and extreme changes in behavior shortly after visiting this town. According to development team member Seiki Uchida, they wanted to create a town that was wildly different from the rest of the game. They had sought to make an area that would leave an impression on the player. However, Seiki did not anticipate how much of an impression it would leave. So, what is it within this town that causes this syndrome? The first and believed to be main cause of the condition happens right as you enter the town. Every time you enter a town in the game, music will play in the background. Most of the towns you visit have happy and energetic music. However, when you approach Lavender Town, the music gets very disturbing and creepy. To give you an example, I will play for you the music when you enter Pewter City in the game. And here is the music when you enter Pallet Town. Now here is the music to Lavender Town. But here's the interesting thing. This is not the song that was put in the original beta versions of the game. According to the legend, the creators of the game altered the original music heavily and had the remade version implemented on all cartridges produced from then on. This is due to the fact that the original music was responsible for provoking disturbances in the brain that went undetected, purely because it was undetectable by fully developed human ears. For children, however, the tones contained within the music caused severe psychological problems that in some cases led to death, many of which were suicides. One of the very few people who are believed to still have the beta version of the game apparently uploaded the actual Lavender Town music, which was extracted from the game. The song you are about to hear is the original music to Lavender Town. This song contains binaural beats, high frequencies and sounds which are disturbing. If you are worried for the safety of your well-being, please exit this video now. Thank you. The next thing, which contributed to the Lavender Town syndrome, was the Pokemon Graveyard Tower. You have to climb and explore the tower to continue through the main storyline. The tower contains the typical, random encounters, with trainers, and you also have to fight a ghost, which you cannot catch. But right at the top of the tower, the developers, whether intentionally or by accident, put in something bizarre. At the top of the tower, you will enter a long narrow room. In this room there is nothing but 2 statues and 2 gravestones. If you go up to the gravestone on the right and press the action button, a dialogue will appear. You're here. I'm trapped. And I'm lonely. So very lonely. Won't you join me? You will then flash into a Pokemon battle with a creature called Buried Alive. Buried Alive is not something you are supposed to encounter in-game. Buried Alive will first send out a Muck as its first Pokemon. After defeating Muck, it will then send a Gengar. Once you defeat Gengar, Buried Alive will send out yet another Pokemon. White Hand. This decaying looking hand is not an officially listed Pokemon. According to the myth, this Pokemon is supposed to know only 2 moves, Fist and Brutal. However, once again, these are moves which are not supposed to exist. Rumor has it, Buried Alive is supposed to have 2 of these white hands, which he battles with. Now there is another strange thing about this. A protocol, after you defeat Buried Alive, was never written. This means that should the player manage to defeat him, the entire game would freeze, and would force the player to restart the game. However, there was a specific ending written by an unknown programmer in the event the player lost the battle. In this ending, Buried Alive, after the battle says, "Finally, fresh meat." He was to have then dragged the player into the ground surrounding him. The scene would finish with the typical, "Game over" screen. However, in the background, an image of Buried Alive devouring the player is shown. But that's not all, as there is another protocol that takes place after this scene. After the Game Over screen, the cartridge downloads this image into the small internal memory contained within the Game Boy, overriding the title screen that normally accompanied a Game Boy turning on. This was permanent and rendered the Game Boy virtually defective. The intended purpose for this effect, unlike many of the other factors leading towards Lavender Town syndrome, is unknown. Thank you for watching.